Okay, hello. Oop, this is not on right. Here we go. I thought I had everything planned. Um, this morning I was dragging my feet a little bit, so this is just gonna be a bare face kind of stream. And unfortunately, this headband ruined everything I had in the bag. It's been a very quiet day, but also been like a very weird kind of day. It's a bit of a mixed bag kind of day. Let me go ahead and adjust the camera here. Sorry about this. I just want you all to see this little horn. So, today's my birthday. The big 4-0. And I'm here. I'm alive. And I got a couple of cool things that are going on today. Um, did not want to like show up today with a bare face, but um, things are just going on where I just don't feel like doing anything today. So I'm just gonna swing things here. Uh, Hi, Audio Rude. Thank you for the happy birthday. Um, Amber, thank you for the happy birthday. uh, Today has been very quiet. Almost everyone is sick. I feel like I'm coming down with something. I have a bit of a sore throat over here. And that's why I'm just kind of like slow this morning and not doing much of anything this morning. I even put honey in my coffee. Didn't even bother with this. I'm like, I just don't feel like it. I just want to sit down to like watch something with my brother. And got a couple of good stuff that I want to talk about before I dive into a game. But there's no like party, there's no like major celebration. Just really happy to like have me around, I guess, but it's very low key. I'm sure things would be different when it comes to this evening, um, which is actually pretty typical of all of my birthdays. Since I'm a summer birthday kid, any of my friends that I would have wanted on my birthday are so far away from me, and I only see them at school. So I never have a chance to have them like come over to my house and like celebrate my birthday. So it's always like this, you know? Uh but good wishes all around from all of you and of course for my friends online. It's been nice. Uh I hope to have a wonderful chocolate cake today and hopefully people will feel better tonight to like be there for me when I blow out the candles. Everyone's just not feeling in their A game today. I'm having some mixed emotions. I want them to get better. And I also understand it's been like a very chill, quiet day for them. Uh Special announcement one. I finally got the Shadow Tarot that all of you had voted for last month here in my hands. So I went to go and unbox it and showcase what it looks like and have all of us go ooh and ah over it and figure out if this is something that I want to, well, how we're going to move on with this and incorporate this for the future tarot streams. So that's announcement one is this cute little shadow tarot box. Chocolate cake, a Big Mac, Diet Coke, coffee. Okay, I should say, My plans for today was to have. I was thinking of having a movie. I was thinking of doing some major games, but I stayed up very, very late last night, hanging out with Gerbeagly's community and just like watching the trailers. And I stayed up super late and decided to sleep in today. So I didn't wake up until noon. And by that point, I just felt like I got this scratchy throat. Fun. And I just didn't feel like doing much. And got myself a grilled cheese sandwich, dipped it in garlic butter, which is not ideal, but I make do. Uh, Sat and watched like a couple of YouTube videos, and then I got in here. Yeah, that's true. I always had worked on my birthdays when I was doing retail. I usually don't ask for my birthdays off on those days. And the managers always like chew me out for not asking for, a day off on those days. And I'm like, usually my family just celebrates in the evening. Because, we have moved on as a family from, yes, grilled cheese and garlic butter. That was my breakfast slash lunch today. And I also had an apple and I have, of course, my coffee with a whole bunch of creamer and some honey. So I'm sort of being kind to myself. But overall, as a family, we kind of stopped, trying to do like big major games or charades or like festivities during the day because a lot of people usually would be working during that day. And it would be hard to like try to rope everyone together to like have a whole day off for people's birthdays. So it's it's always like this on all of my birthdays, just very chill, you know, let everyone do their own thing, kind of like hang out, just say happy birthday, give you a hug, and then like go away. uh, but no, it was nice. It was nice hanging out with my brother last night and also like hanging out with the Gerbeagly community, uh, who I treasure and adore. And this morning I watched some YouTube videos with my brother, who's like very sick today. I'm so sad. Um, and I expect tonight to have some cake. Uh, I asked for chicken tenders and tater tots and maybe something veggie. I have no clue on the vegetables. I don't really care. And as far as I know of, I'm not going to have tater tots. I'm really hoping they'll be chopped up and like um baked in like some sort of nice herby olive oil mix. Really hoping that will be the case. I kind of want to be naughty and have tater tots though, so making do. Making do. But really hoping to have like some chicken tenders for today. Crossing my fingers that that is still the case. Uh, and don't know if I'm gonna have presents or not. They made a big deal asking for like a birthday list for me today. Oh, not today, but like a month ago. So maybe I'll have presents. I have no clue. But I got a couple of cool things that happened today that I want to talk about. Have whatever meal you want, I know, but I also want to respect everyone's budget. So if tater tots are not available, it's just not gonna happen. So that's just the way it is. Uh, I always wanted to do like picnicky kind of food. Um, I'm always a picnicky kind of person. I love to just, you know, have some sort of finger food, either it's grilled, that would be great, or like something childlike and nostalgic. I As I get older, I become more pessimistic, more serious. I don't really have a lot of whimsy in my life, especially for my books lately. I don't really have a lot of silliness in my life. So something like that for my birthday would be nice. So trying to keep that going as much as I can. But this is something that y'all had asked for last month from all the wonderful gifted subs during the book release, which I'm still very very thankful for, and I'm very appreciative. I want to showcase, this is what the back of the cards look like. It really reminds me of the yin and yang, especially like these petals here. And also, it kind of reminds me of peacock feathers, but it's like black and white peacock feathers. So I love it. I absolutely love it. They're very glossy, and I just really love the design. And I don't think I could like easily warp them. Oh wait, maybe I can by accident. Okay, I will try my best to be careful. So, how to use this deck? I'm gonna treat this like an oracle deck. This is a Shadow Tarot deck. It is designed to reflect patterns, behaviors, and consequences, not to predict outcomes or offer reassurance. This deck does not include a guidebook by design. The cards are meant to be engaged with directly, not interpreted through fixed meanings. There are no upright or reverse meanings in this deck. Each card represents a state you may be experiencing, not something that is right or wrong. Sit with what appears. Notice resistance before seeking answers. And it also gives suggestions of like how to do these things. I was born the 19th of January and I'm born on the 20th of June, both J months and a day apart, different years and decades. That's wild. It's wild how there's so many like similarities. I have a classmate from my college who was born on the same day as I was, and I think like the same year. And we always, um, he always calls me like his birthday twin. Uh, and I always held him in the highest regard. He's such a good person. And the last time I knew, he's doing well with his spouse in in a metropolis place, and he's an owner of a erotica store. And he's actually like very happy and fulfilled and like having a wonderful time. And I think like his store had won so many rewards for their sales, and he was ushering in a very wholesome, workspace. And I'm so happy and proud of him. And that's the last thing I knew about like what he was doing. And I'm just hoping that, he's also having a wonderful birthday wherever he is too. And wherever life takes him and his beloved partner, who I knew from my college days too, and she's like an amazing person. She helped taught me how to crochet. She's amazing and so awesome. Uh, so I hope that they're doing well. So whenever I have my birthday, I think of them and I'm trying not to cry. I hope they're doing okay. God, I'm glad I'm not wearing makeup. Because I'm afraid, like, I will just wipe everything off. I am, like, absolutely emotional today. Okay. But also only a generation apart. True. Very, very true. I am your elder. That sounds weird to say. Senpai? Maybe I'm senpai? Sensei. No, you know what? That's me being egotistical. I'm gonna stop that. Suggested use. One card to observe a current behavior or pattern. Two cards to explore tension, cause, response, or inner conflict. Three cards to reveal a cycle. What drives it, what maintains it, and what it cost. Every single time I hear this phrase, what it cost, I think back to that meme with uh Marvel's Endgame with Thanos and just little Gamora asking him, but at what cost? It sticks with me for the rest of my days. This deck works best when you are honest, not when you're seeking for validation. As it should be. It should never be about validating. I mean, it's nice to know that, like, sometimes the tarot deck will, like, reiterate the current situation. And if you're like, okay, yes, it is the current situation, and um, it's nice that sometimes it would just say, yeah, you're going through this right now. And then it kind of gives you a little sliver of advice. And it's like, thanks, I guess. But this is nice where it's like, okay, we're not just trying to like reiterate what's going on. We're going to help you observe the situation. Now you get to go to the senior centers and get the early bird. Screams at almost 30. Hey now, 30 is not that bad. It can be a little wild, but it's not that bad. I find that transitioning into 30 is where you start transitioning from maiden to mother. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. If a card feels uncomfortable, it may be pointing to something active, not something wrong. AKA, it's a situation or a thought or idea that you may have not considered. And you may want to consider it. So I will treat these like an oracle deck for the most part. Let me go ahead and do a shuffle here. Also, like, I am looking forward to eventually getting on AARP. I heard people have very different views on AARP. Like whether it saves or not, there's like differing views on it. Like my mom, who's actually more of a savvy saver, was like, no, AARP doesn't really crack up that much as it used to be. Whereas, like, friends younger than I were like, no, it is the bomb. Get it. So, I don't know. Someday, if I could, like, get the age requirement to hop on, I'd like to take a peek and see, like, if it's worth it. So yeah, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like here. So for instance, the lovers, we have What are you afraid to lose by choosing? Oh, what am I afraid to lose by choosing? Sorry that it doesn't have like finite zoom. It's really focused down here. Maybe it's better if I do it up here. There you go, you can see this. It's very glossy. Like, this is so shiny and glossy. I'm so happy that I got this from all of you. We also have, ew, Three of Wands. What am I waiting to see before I act? Big tree stumps here. Oh, I could have just read it off the screen. So usually the Three of Wands, whether it is reverse or upright, we are trying to see if our plans are coming into fruition. And there's usually a bit of hesitancy, and it's usually there to like let you know, hey, it's not as bad as you think it is. Usually. So why are you hesitating? Ooh, strength. Where am I holding back softness? I love this. Why are we trying to be strong? How can we be soft? I love that thought. Usually, I often hear like strength for a lot of people means that, oh, I had to have courage and try to persevere in the face of adversity. But this is a very fascinating thought that maybe, maybe it's not about trying to be tough in face of everything that we're dealing with, but maybe it's about allowing ourselves to be vulnerable when times are tough. Maybe we don't sacrifice that. That's a thought. Ace of Wands. What urge am I acting on right now? And that urge could be your passion. A passion. What drive? What motivation? What urge am I acting on right now? And what does independence cost me? Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles usually refers to like reaping the fruits of your labors. But maybe it's making you examine. Maybe you could share the wealth. Just a little bit. What did it cost you? So I would love to do these cards for tarot reads. Just pull them out and ask them like, is there anything to add? I may even do, its own like channel point. Man, my brain just brain fog a little bit. Do its own channel point. Maybe pull a card from the Shadow Tarot deck. And especially when y'all redeem the Shadow reading, Shadow Work Tarot channel point redeem. I'm definitely going to use this, add it on to it. So, gonna try to figure it out. And I don't think it's something I will just do just for subscribers, but definitely something I could use as an additive along the way. If it has an opinion on things. So right now, I'm gonna ask this deck if it has any comments about how to celebrate, or any comments for my birthday today? How about that? Any comments about my birthday today? Just give it a test run. That's a lot of cards. Only need one. Oh, I almost caught one by accident. Sorry. What am I carrying that I no longer need? Valid. I always feel like, as someone who's like a workaholic, that I always need to do something all the time. That I need to always work on something, to always, especially like trying to get things done. I always feel like I'm behind on everything. And I always feel like I need to like do stuff. And it's not a healthy mentality at all whatsoever. And I guess I'm also like worrying about like my family a little bit, especially now that, you know, my brother, my sister is sick. I'm coming down under the weather. So I guess I'm carrying too much mentally on my mental shoulders, and maybe I just need to chill, I guess, which is hard for me to do. Any thoughts from this card? Oh my goodness, we were in ads. I'm so sorry, anyone who was caught in ads when I was doing this. Just in case. For me, for my birthday, it's asking me what am I carrying that I no longer need to. And most of it was just me being a worrywart. Hi, Dance. Welcome in. I am showing off the Shadow Tarot deck that y'all have picked. I finally was able to buy it through Twitch a couple of weeks ago, and it finally came in. So I'm just showcasing what it looks like. My grilled cheese idea made you hungry. Yes, yes, please. Any cheese, any bread, just butter it and fry it. And just medium heat. And, you know, just get like your normal pizza, garlic butter container if you have any. This is the back of the Shadow Tarot deck. It's like for shadow work. So we have the Knight of Swords. What am I rushing toward? Which fared? That's Knight of Swords. Ace of Pentacles. What form of stability is being offered to me? Usually that is like a new job prospect, but it could also be other things that constitute stability. Or maybe we're just not realizing maybe there are opportunities for such things. Last but not least, A Knight of Wands. What am I using movement to avoid? I'll be running away from something. Which is wild. So stuff like that. Really wonderful prompts to make you think and contemplate about stuff. There's no right or wrong. No way to like make you feel bad. Hopefully it won't make you feel bad. And if it makes you uncomfortable, maybe it's because it's something that you've been avoiding or like not listening to, and maybe it needs like some examination. For me, I drew a card for myself for my birthday, and I got the Ten of Wands. What am I carrying that I no longer need to? Wednesday, yay or nay? Huh. Okay. I wasn't planning to do some tarot, but like I don't mind doing one for you for right now. And just test run this card. Would you like that? Again, this is like not going to be like a whole tarot stream today. But I'll make a exception for you. I also took the time to like have everything cleanse and everything charged. Had my space cleansed and everything. So, going to do a yes or no card. And I'm going to put down 4 cards about like examining why. And then I'll use that Shadow Tarot. And then I'll get into the Ballads at Midnight. Also, there's like another announcement I want to make today. Okay, that fell open. Okay, there we go. And I'm also going to throw this in here. My issue is that it doesn't shuffle very well. I'm surprised how quiet the chat is right now. Okay. Oh, we got 2. Okay, so we have the woe card. The woe card I usually see as a positive thing, especially when it's upright. This is usually a completion of a cycle. Things come full circle, comes to full close. The whole idea of like your world as your oyster kind of situation, that's how I usually interpret the world. So usually that would be a positive thing to have. Um, the why here is fascinating. Hmm. Oh, okay. Let me check the page here. Oh, I'm just checking things out. I'm trying to figure out what the narrative is here. Again, I did not plan to do tarot today. So I'm not in the right mindset to like do it. Okay. Um it's not bad. It's not bad. They're describing why this would be better than any other time that you were thinking of. Okay, so what's happening here is that you're having a hard time finding emotional fulfillment from other people, or at least you're hoping other people will provide that emotional fulfillment within you. And usually, when the Ace of Cups is in reverse, it's time to try to find emotional fulfillment from within instead of trying to seek it and try to obtain it from other people. I hope that makes sense. And with the Page of Wands being in reverse, you have been very impatient, wanting things to go through, especially if it's like a job situation, because this usually talks about like being impatient for the thing that you want, especially like trying to get a new job. Six of Pentacles, usually it's about obtaining or finding that new job, that new investor, that new patron. And it's possible that that might happen with getting what you have been festeringly trying to obtain this whole time. Probably find it through this Queen of Cups person. Someone who is a little bit more emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent, who is able to provide that kind of support that you would need. I keep thinking job. It might be something else. But I feel like whatever you're planning for, if you want that day to happen, that will be that day. And I think that it will go well, especially if you're working in coordinates with someone who is typically someone who has a wealth of emotional nourishment, who's willing to impart some level of wisdom that's able to provide some sort of release or some sort of vulnerability. So that's why they're saying, yes, this would be beneficial on Wednesday. Things will come to full circle and things would be completed and finalized that day. So, things to also consider, we have the um, Shadow Tarot deck to give you a little bit of some thinking prompts. So first is the Queen of Swords. What truth do I need to state clearly? So maybe you might have a hard time expressing what you're wanting, especially on an emotional level, and maybe that's causing some pent up frustration within you because you're trying to obtain what you're looking for and you're just not getting it from other people. Something that you have to find within, usually. So maybe you're just not stating what you actually need deep down inside. Another thing that came up is the Three of Pentacles. Where am I being evaluated or supported? Three of Pentacles, we both know as the teamwork card. This is where a group of people come together to work on a project. And usually they are supportive to each other as they do their diligence and do their part to contribute that same project or idea. And they are evaluated for that work. There is someone above them that manages them, or like a patron in this sense. So maybe this is a personal thing where you are being evaluated or being supported in this endeavor that's making you choose whether it's Wednesday, yay or nay. I don't know if it's again, I'm just not really with it today. I don't know if it's a emotional connection that you're making on Wednesday or if you are trying to get like something positive career wise or your business wise, some sort of green light thing happening. I don't know. Again, I'm just not with it today. So I hope that helps clarify some things. You are getting closure. Okay, that's good. Hmm. That would be the day to do it. And I don't think it's bad or good. I think this would be a good time to like finalize things. And who knows, maybe the Queen of Cups is you expressing your emotions and your thoughts and feelings for once. And it will be a very good moment to express it. I have to stop living high conflict. You always have to pick up the books for my readings. True. I think it would be best. I always feel like you always have this very, you always have your hackles up all the time. And I think that if this will help you get rid of the stress that you're having, I think that would be a good thing for you. So there we go. That's like a good example of like using this deck with a reading. And I feel like I want to add this for all readings that I do. So there we go. I feel like since I don't have a lot of people here, I don't know if I want to make this announcement yet until the end of the stream. So I'm just going to dive into the game, Ballads at Midnight, and just dive into it. It is good news. I just don't have enough people here to like say the good news. And I'll just wait. Or maybe this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to switch gears. So I want to finish off the Ballads at Midnight. And I want to finish the game. I don't think I can. But I want to try. Well, I thought I was going to get the game up soon. I should not have stopped the music. This is kind of awkward. Speaking of which, I need to take care of the AC. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Hopefully that will take care of the heat in this room. I'm looking forward to some chocolate cake for tonight. I keep thinking I'm gonna have tater tots. I'm not gonna have tater tots today, but I'm gonna have chicken tenders. Gonna hang out with my family for a little bit, and have no clue what I'm gonna do for the rest of the night. Okay, here we go. Okay, dope. So last where I left off with Ballads at Midnight, our spoony bard is falling in love with this vampire who has a really high moral code of sorts, but the high moral code makes him feel comfortable taking blood or like eating people who are criminals. And he seems to be working with the Majesty until we have learned that this was his punishment and he was cursed by the Majesty way back when to be a vampire. Which makes me think that prior Majesty was also some sort of vampire that had the ability to like curse a message. Because that's usually how it goes, right? And our bard, being the bard that she is falling for this vampire because he is emotional damaged and we want to heal him and fix him because we can do it. That type of thing. So I feel that we are indeed halfway in this thing. And my suspicions were correct when I checked how many chapters there are in this thing, in this story. And I feel like I can't help it if she's like falling for him for so quickly, you know, with this vampire. And I would not go hard this fast, but you know, everyone's built different. I find it fascinating that we are taking the liberty to use this place as a semi sanctuary of sorts. Where, yes, we are a prisoner, we are entertaining the vampire before we're out of this, you know, allowed to leave this place. But I feel like we might be tempted to stay. I'm not the type of person who would accept immortality. I'm just not. I'm not that kind of person. Um, I don't know about our character in this situation because she has gone through some really rough times. And I also feel like, you know, this didn't have the main LGBTQ tag, but it was highlighted as such. And I feel like it's highlighted because our character is possibly bi, possibly pan, because they keep alluding to their love affairs, but it's never outspoken or outstated. Hi, Brie. Thank you so much for the happy birthday party. Happy birthday, um, thing. Thank you so much, and also thank you so much for the 25 strange streak. Holy cow! I hope things are going well for you. Bards are panned by default. You know, I can't argue with that. I'm already wearing the unicorn power. I will get you your points back. No, I don't. This is kind of my hat already. You'll keep your points for free. Don't worry. I should have took it off and I was too tired to do that. Also, ads are going to start. I'm kind of wanting to wait. I'll just pick this here and then no, that's not how it works. Oh, excuse me. I'll wait until the ads are over and then I can start this game. Just a heads up, because I do want to finish this game, I may play this through the ads, but I'll be lenient this one time. Just because we're getting started and it would not be fair. The reason why I felt like it was halfway through this whole story was because of how much info has been dumped. All this backstory, all the explanations of why and how it came to be. And I kind of wanted more, push and pull, a little bit of hints here or there leading up to this. I feel like it's a lot, personally. But I kind of want to like see in action them breaking down barriers over time before, this deluge had happened. I felt like the whole red moon thing, you know, made them more open and vulnerable because it's such a romantic thing, which really didn't feel romantic at all. It made it feel like terrifying because it's like Tears of Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Red Moon. And I've been so triggered by all the monsters coming back to life from that type of, Red Moon situation. But it felt great that, it hit the mark where it should be. Like, this story is incredible. This game is good. Again, I'm surprised that this is free. The dialogue is not bad. There are some nitpicky things that I had mentioned in the prior playthrough last week. And it's mostly just to give some helpful critiques to improve things for the future if anyone decides to have this level of storytelling. This is where you can up it. This is where you can take it to the next level. They're doing a lot of heavy lifting here as it is. They got a wonderful world going on. They got these dynamic characters. They're more than just one thing, which is one issue I kind of had with Dragon Age Valguard. There is tension, there is stakes, but the stakes kind of like the stakes are there, but it's not as intense as it was in the beginning. Our character is a little bit more multidimensional than just, a typical bard. And so is our captor, who's imprisoning us. That, there's more to this vampire, which is also fascinating for me. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay, it's a bad game that I love. It's my only guilty bad game. It's quote unquote bad story wise. Game mechanics, it's pretty good, but it needs work on a lot of interpersonal dynamics in the dialogue. The characters need to be more than one aspect. There should be a little bit more depth. And what was lost in that Velguard and what they had in the prior games is this tension dynamics in a group. The work of trying to get them to work together is not there. Like what I loved about Dragon Age Velguard, Dragon Age in general, was all these desperate parts trying to overcome their differences to work together. And I felt like we don't have that type of conflict, intergroup conflict, in Velguard. Because, like, if you are someone who's like a paladin like a cleric or whatever, and you're dealing with, someone who's a blood mage, you should have some level of antagonism. And it's not there in the Valguards. Cassandra reading Smut in Dragon Age Inquisition ending is worth 10 Valguards. True. You're back with grilled cheese. Awesome. No, I think there is some level of personality. There is personality. There's just no depth. There's no depth to them. They seem to be caricatures of what they could be. Again, they're not multifaceted characters, and their character growth, they don't always seem to change with their story arc, which is another sad thing that happened. So there seems to be a breakdown of a lot of the story tensions and dynamics that could have happened with this awesome story they had laid out across all characters and of course the main story, but it kind of like fell apart in the minutia of like conflicts between the group and their own personal character development arcs. And I felt like they got lost in the reads. Also, like the dialogue is a little bit, it's a little bit too direct, especially during the Tasha's kind of like coming out, development story. I think she kind of had an arc that's better than everyone else's arc, but the dialogue is way too direct to fully appreciate it. And yeah, they could have dug into all the magic is blood magic thing. They could have fleshed out Treventer. They could have dug into the blank chantry and the chantry split. Right. There's a lot of things they did really dived into that could create some tension and high stakes other than the elven deities come back. I do like the main story of the elven deities. I do love, the whole Silas, uncovering Silas's backstory thing, which is not as hard as they claim to be in the achievements. It's actually really easy to do. It would be very difficult to mess that up. Which then again, it's something that's easy to do because it was on easy mode, but I digress. It had all the right parts. They just didn't give it that tweak. And because of that, when I went back to do some secondary gameplay, it didn't stand. It was one of those games that I would play over and over and over simply because the story changes depending on who you are as a character, what role you're playing, and all the different type of dialogue choices that you have that would dramatically shape the story. And I was expecting something like that from my prior gameplays of Dragon Age. And when I tried to play it again, for the second time, it felt like same old. And I was beginning to notice there was no sort of tension from, having a different character class, having a different character race. I seemed to get the same type of reaction from the party members, except for the choices I made in the dialogue. And usually it's not always that dependent in dialogue choice. But I love it. Okay? I love this bad game. I love it and I support it to a point. Okay? But I realize that this is one of those games you probably will enjoy once. And if you try to play for a second or third time, you may not be able to get the type of new experience like you would have in the prior Dragon Age games. And for the longest time, I was like, I love this game. I was hyping it up, advocating for it because a lot of people were hating it for the wrong reasons. They're hating it for the wrong reasons that, like, it's too woke and everything. They're not hating it for the right reasons of lack of tension, blunt dialogue, replayability issues. The gods were dumbed down, none of the complexity of Silas and Mytho, even the lore was straight up bulldozered. Yeah, I wish there was more twists and turns. I wish there was more twists and turns. And I felt like because they didn't do what they needed to do to keep on that level of complexity. That's another thing, complexity of all the aspects that they have in the game. I don't know how it's going to roll out in the next one because they did hint for a next one. Overall, I love it, but don't go in expecting like it was with all these complex dynamics. Uh, it is totally everyone gets along too well. Everything is very blunt and in your face. Um, I don't know. I just wish that they don't rush everyone and they're a little bit more critical. In Inquisition, you can visit some of the Elven God temples, and Solus will comment on the fables written there. The gods were prophesied to suck, but also have layers. The downfall of ambitions and good intentions. Yeah. So it's a bad game I love. I love the romances. I love the environments. I think it's one of those, you don't have to think hard games, sadly. You don't have to think hard. And it's one of those that you can carry through the motions if you want with this game, which should be what Dragon Age was. It should have been a little bit more strategy, puzzly involved kind of game. In fact, I loved the puzzles from Inquisition. And I wanted more. And it felt like it's more of a fetch and grab kind of situation than anything else. And some of the puzzles, come from getting some companions later on in the game. So there is some, revisiting of the environment. And, everything was gorgeous. The environments were awesome. The environments had changed and became dynamic with the story. And that was cool. But it could have been what it used to be. So, again, it's a bad game I love. I'm guilty in standing up for it simply because there was a lot of pushback against it from people who hate it for, again, the wrong reasons, focusing on that, oh no, we have LGBTQ characters, oh no, we have like a lot of female cast people, oh no, we have XYZ going on. That has nothing to do with the other issues of like storytelling. And I felt like, no, I'm going to stand by this game because it's good, it's not great. I love it up to a point. It's just not a replayable kind of game. Now this Ballads of Midnight, I was spoiled that there's going to be multiple endings for this game. So since it's free, I'm only going to play this game once with the choices I've made, and y'all get to play this on your own if you're curious how you would tackle this whole dynamic. But yeah, I felt like for a very straight, linear kind of game like this, this is fine. Um, it's doing a lot of heavy work here with the characters being multifaceted. The world environment, we are kind of learning through dialogue and also like investigating the room. It is a visual novel game, so there's not a lot of complexity with gameplay here. Um, other than like what choices we would say as a bard. As if Dorian was a sword swallower and Sarah a taco slicer. Plenty more valid reasons to dislike Belgard. I do understand why some love it. Yeah. In fact, I was happy that it received the LGBTQ Game Award. But I was also sad that it was them and not Baldur's Gate winning it. I think like Velgard came out the year after Baldur's Gate 3. And I wonder if Baldur's Gate 3 won that award or not. So I'm gonna have to double check. So anywho, um, there are some good things that are going forward, and there are some good things that are some things that are not going forward. But I don't think it deserves all the bigotry and hate. So that's why I will stand by my terrible game that I enjoy simply because I like this one character that reminds me of like a very C3PO Vincent Price. But let me go ahead and get this game going and see what happens. The heavens are generous with rain this year. Within a fortnight of my stay, so 20 days, the black clouds had begun blotting out the moon. A few days later, we were neck deep in Alluvia's rainfall season. Ah, monsoon season, how lovely. At first, I was nervous that the moat will overflow and flood the estate. But the weather was wickedly fickle. The rain frequently stopped and began anew like a broken music box. Nonetheless, the ground outside was perpetually muddy. I spent a lot of time indoors. I was reluctant to soil the only boots I own, and Lucius gave me hell whenever I left dirty footprints in the halls. Oh, okay. We kind of reached that level in our friendship where we got used to each other's company to the point where she kind of understand, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get chewed out by this vampire for leaving muddy boots in the hall. We kind of stop being afraid here. And the vampire is willing to just chew them out for having muddy boots. We're not afraid of being eaten at this point. Controversial opinion about the LGBTQ games. They do much better when Sweet Baby Inc. isn't involved. No likes activists using the rainbow shield to deflect valid criticism, thus attracting opposing activists, and then the franchise burns. I don't know who Sweet Baby Inc. But if they are an activist group, I could see that. I think that whether you have a activist group or not advocating for a game, I think the hate is going to happen regardless. It just depends on how big of a queue the game has. And a game like Baldur's Gate 3 and Dragon Age Velgard is going to receive a lot of eyes on it. And I would not be surprised if there are people hating on Baldur's Gate 3 for the same reasons they hated Velgard. It's just that there's a larger game community that love Baldur's Gate 3 because they did it right. As game development as a game mechanic, as everything. The D&D gaming community really came together for Baldur's Gate 3. Whereas with the Dragon Age Felguard, it did really cater to the dedicated fan base. And it kind of went womp womp a little bit. And it didn't have enough fortitude and strength to have everyone gathered around to like fight off anyone who decides to come after it in a very bigoted, hateful kind of way. Which is sad, but like I don't think it will. I think the hate is going to come regardless whether people are advocating for it or not. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. D&D has always been career friendly with companion sponsored gods. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I felt like they did everything right. They are able to accommodate all types of people and also like all types of gameplay and game ideas that you normally would probably experience on a tabletop kind of situation. Not necessarily like the same type of rules on the tabletop game. I know for sure there were some major deviances from what Baldur's Gate 3 would do compared to like what I would do in a D&D kind of situation, especially like 5.0. There was a lot of deviance, but I like it because the game was able to run better by those changes that they made. Otherwise, it would totally slow things down and bog down the gameplay. So no, I think the little tweaks that they did is good. Um, I have some opinions about like what they're trying to roll out with the whole Hasbro situation, and um, I support those who are trying to get unions and rights in the company because they deserve everything because they are the biggest fans, and maybe it's better off not to have Hasbro involved and just let them do their thing without taking advantage of them, without like destroying their lives and their work. Just like leave them alone. You know? Because eventually it will trickle down to like what they do. So I don't know. I have a lot of strong opinions about like what they're doing with D&D right now. Mechanically superior to 5.0, yeah. I'll complain about evil characters and player options being more limited. Well, let's go ahead and put a pin on that for now. Otherwise, I would never be able to finish this game. But I definitely have some opinions. In fact, there's like a couple of videos that I wanted to share where some of those opinions are coming from. But let me focus on this game. This game is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Just of like a few dialogue tweaks. Back to horny vampire. No. I'm not trying to invoke corporate wrath. I have a very strong disagreement, and it breaks my heart with what they're doing. And maybe who knows? Maybe Pathfinder. Maybe I need to go with a Pathfinder community, which is I know shocking because I've been born and raised on D&D like my whole life. But I don't know, maybe I need to like hook up with some Pathfinder friends. Hate to say it. Or not. Hasbro cooked my heart with magic, so the bleeding of D&D's. No, it's not. It's not surprising at all. People have been screaming about it for like ages, and fans have been screaming about it. Everyone's been screaming about it, and the only person who could do something about it isn't listening. Tonight, a thick fog hangs like a curtain outside. The windows shake and rattle, straining against the storm. Because I'm disinclined to set foot in violently dreary weather, I decide this is an optimal opportunity to write new songs. Okay, cool. I think this is also why we are sticking around, because this is the only opportunity as a bard to think about new material. I think we always have been on the run from the guards, from trying to scrape by, getting some food on the table. We just need a stable environment to actually just write some good music. This bard needs a garage band or just a garage to work in. Pathfinder is epic, the setting's more limited, but it's rich and thick. Yeah, I really need to dive into it. I was introduced it once in a run, and I felt like at the time it's like, oh, it's no different than the 3.0 I was used to. I don't see what the fuss is about until 4.0 happened with D&D. Then I knew why. Again, I feel like D&D 4.0 was a you ask for it moment. You be careful what you ask for because it might come true. It was one of those hard and fast lessons that everyone in the fan community had to learn. So, if you want to experience 3.0 D&D, do Pathfinder. Because that's pretty much what I grew up with. That's how I started out with D&D. 5.0 is not bad, but I feel like they streamlined everything in 3.0. For good and bad. I was surprised to find a number of brushes, parchment, and writing quills stowed away in the cupboard, and even more surprised to find an inkwell that hasn't dried out. Okay, so this vampire is getting some logistics. They're getting food. They're getting writing supplies. They must have correspondence, and they might have merchants, which kind of makes sense because the current majesties of Alluvia has been sending people over to this island. So this person is just in this kind of glass prison of sorts. So and sold it to me with the following: thruple goddesses invaded the abyss to kill a demon prince after a priestess about to join the polykill dies. Oh. And that was like the least interesting thing that decade. I would like to, dive into that. I mean, when I was younger, I would be, because I don't understand, and I was such a, oh, what you call it? Because I was sheltered and ignorant, I would have like go, oh my god, in such, a concept. But like nowadays, it's like, oh, okay, fair and valid. And it's kind of funny because I was also a fan of Sailor Moon that also played with it, like, it got more loud and proud as the season progressed in Sailor Moon. To the point where, like, you have a throuple raising, like, a kid kind of situation. Where you have, like, Sailor Uranus and Neptune, who should be married. Okay, and they have like Sailor Pluto as like part of that trio raising, no, I'm sorry, Saturn raising like Sailor Pluto. So I should be okay with it. But yet, like, I don't know. I guess it was like my dark time where I was very, if it wasn't Sailor Moon, I probably wouldn't accept it. I'm very slow to like accepting some things. And like nowadays, it's like, yeah, why not? Why not have this? Why not like have this dynamic? You know, it's not that weird. What makes it weird is conflicts in a group. You know, what makes it weird is trying to sexualize it or infantilize it or like make it, you know, stranger than what it really is, which is like three people coming together to create a family. So, no, like, I think I would accept like Pathfinder now than I would have been like a long time ago. Then again, like 10 years ago, uh, the world, at least here in the US, was starting to understand, you know, what non binary means. And that was the hop culture topic is understanding and learning they them pronouns and, you know, what it means to be non binary and how to incorporate that in our lives. So I was totally trying to deal with that kind of culture of people not understanding and me trying to learn more about like where people are coming from, you know, and certainly like not in the mindset of like going any further than that. So I have learned so much and I'm so glad that I worked really hard in trying to be accepting and understanding where people are coming from and understand that not everything is like, you know, like people are just trying to live a life, you know, trying to come together for a common purpose. And if that means like it's love, then, you know, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to deny that. But I understand where you're coming from. I completely understand, you know, like I have been an ally for most of my life, but I needed some education. And, you know, in a way, like Twitch has been awesome in allowing me to like learn through association and understanding where people are coming from and try to like learn by, you know, like communication, like learn by observing, learn by like accepting, learn by, you know, seeing them as a person, you know, and you know, it's nice. It's really, really nice. And being so sheltered, you know, you don't have those chances of like interacting with people of all, you know, walks of life. And try to like understand that, you know, at the end of the day, most people want to be taken seriously as an adult who wants to go to a grocery store, buy things for their house, and just, you know, have some awesome meals and try to have a life. I mean, much later, I learned that, oh, I'm also like a demisexual. I'm part of the asexual umbrella. And what does that mean to me and like my family and my association in the community? For a while there, I didn't really I didn't feel that I was enough. I feel like, you know, I wasn't enough to be part of it. And I learned much later on from like some friends that no, I was enough to be part of it. It's okay. So, just a lot of depth, a lot of growth from all these years, just from trying to keep an open mind and trying to understand where people are coming from, and that is enough for me to learn and appreciate all the different ways of like different ways to love, different ways of setting up a home, different ways to have like a family, you know. Family is totally different depending on your situation. Different ways of love. And sometimes it's not even, you know, romantic love. Sometimes it can be other forms of love. Not an ally. I thought I was gay. Then the ones who rocked my world. Yeah. So, sometimes part of pride is learning how far you have come and how much further you have to go. And I just realized that even like 10 years ago, um, I had to like really like step back and like try to figure out maybe I'm just too close minded. Maybe this is not the direction I want to go. Maybe I'm too judgy because I'm miserable and hateful. And maybe there's something wrong with me and maybe I need to do better. It was like not a great moment for me to like be so close minded simply because I was just having a miserable time. And I'm glad that I worked some things out and realized people are people. Like, I'm never going to put anyone on a pedestal, but I'm never going to put anyone down unless they have, done incredible wrong to me personally. For the most part, I'm going to treat people as, case by case. Like, are you the type of person that tried to make other people laugh, or are you the type of person that is trying to hurt others? And that's kind of how I go about in my life. All right, so enough of the mushiness. I'm just glad that I just made the growth, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be with all of you. And I'm so happy that we still have this month to celebrate who we are, where we all come from. And I'm just happy to be here, where I am. And I just hope that I will continue to like get better and better and being loving and accepting to the best of my abilities. I recall how the vampire told me he housed an artist once and tried to picture whether said artist could have single handedly smuggled in all these materials. He must have been much sneakier than me or had a lot more pockets. I forgot that I used Abby Normal for this. If I were him, I would have prioritized smuggling in some food and weapons instead of art supplies. But I should be grateful to him in any case. I had made myself a bowl of soup, boiled turnip and mushroom so I can write without being interrupted by hunger. So true. I cannot think with an empty stomach. Lucius's disgusting fish can only tide me over for so long. While I never had much interest in cooking and often survived on trail rations in the past, I do know how to feed myself in a pinch. Although my soup is only palatable due to some dried herbs, I scrounge for the near empty pantry. There may be some unforeseen perks to living in a vampire's castle, but gourmet meals are certainly not one of them. Thankfully, I never had much interest in the finer things. While my soup cools, I start a small fire to keep myself warm. Oh, zoom in. On the whole, my impromptu little workspace is comfortable. I've always wanted a writing nook, and this may be the closest I will ever get to having one. Unfortunately, dot dot dot. I tap the nub of my quill against the writing desk, glaring at the blank, loose leaf piece of parchment. Call me a perfectionist, but I refuse to transcribe a song into my journal until I'm certain it's amazing. No! No! You should never think like that. You should just write down whatever weird melody you got going on, whatever beat you have happening. You piece it together. You don't do it when it's perfect. Still praying for a spin-off of Sense8. This show has some of the best representation. Ooh. And I need to look into it. I need to find it. I scratch out the word before my quill completes the arc of the E. I have everything I need to write, don't I? But now that I'm sitting down to do it, the head feels as foggy as the weather outside. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Let's try this again. There was once an old farmer who. The weight of each word feels hackneyed and rotten like old apples. I feel like I'm choking on them. No! Of all the times we have where we can relax and write new material, we have writer's block. Oh no. I flip the parchment over, feeling miserable but content. Stupid blank page. There are a lot of people who tackle writer's block or creative blocks in different ways. One of the ways I will tackle blocks like this is to walk around. And if it's raining outside, I will pace in the room. Usually, the movement of my body will make me wander mentally. And I start thinking of all sorts of things when my body gets going. And sometimes I will say things out loud to try to get my mind jogging. Sometimes I feel like just thinking it is not the same as saying it out loud. And once you say it out loud, you get to criticize and examine it and start thinking it over in a different way. And that's how I try to get over my block. But when that doesn't happen, I will get some tea or coffee, look out into nature, even if it's raining, and start puzzling some things out. It would be like an hour or two, just brainstorming some things and do this whole consciousness of thought of writing down my thinking process of what is this problem? What is this question? What do I need to get to A to B? And instead of trying to figure out how to get there, I just write down what A is, what B is, and then I write how, the question itself, how to get there. And then I start jotting down all these desperate thoughts I had that I need to eventually connect the dots with. And eventually I start seeing the links and seeing how they all interconnect. And it takes time. It can be a couple of hours, 3 hours to get through it. And it's difficult, you know. Other people, when they are trying to get over the blank page syndrome, even if you have plotted things out, you can do a fun little prompt for the day. There's tons of little prompts all over the place. You could generate one from a writing blog. If there's a writing group that has a Discord, you could go there to see what the prompt of the day is. You could go online for like randomly generated prompts to like work out like a scene or scenario or whatever it is. And sometimes some people will use like tarot cards to try to create a little tiny scene prompt to, you know, get the juices flowing. And it helps you get you to think, what if? I think that's where most of the block is that you're not thinking about what if, you're thinking more of a particular piece of the puzzle, like a, oh god, like the destination, and you're not thinking of what if this, what if this possibility, what if this happened, what could happen because of this. And it's a way of trying to loosen up yourself mentally and try to be less controlling of the narrative that you're trying to put down. Sensei by the Wachowskis. Oh, Wachowski and Joseph Stratinsky. A tease, basically, a group of strangers around the globe became telepathically connected with each other. Oh, and there's 8 of them. Since 8. Okay. I at first didn't like it because it was so modern. And it was like real life scenario, real life people, just with telepathic stuff. So if it has really good representation, maybe I will give it a second chance. I definitely am one of those people that have a tendency to stay away from anything that is remotely modern. Except for like magical realism. I flipped the parchment over, feeling miserable with content. Stupid blank page. Before long, I find myself leafing backwards through my journal. That's a good tactic. That's a good tactic. I will sometimes read back to what I had written in the novel, and I will use that as a ramp to like kind of move this story forward. Then again, about pantsing, you put the tracks down before this train to kind of move the story forward. Totally different than um, plotting, where you kind of knew ahead of time what you're heading towards. It's just how you describe it, how you lay out that moment, that scene. Whereas pantsing, you just kind of like, well, the way I do it, I read back to 3 pages, and then I kind of like move on. What are you talking about? Did I misspoke? How did we choke on an apple? Did I misspoke? Did I missaid something? Okay, I'm gonna move on. It doesn't contain much of my original work, honestly. To survive as a traveling bard, I had to memorize and rewrite songs that were already popular, already known. So true. I've seen this from other musicians back in the colonial ages, where they would trade songs and pieces that other people are playing, and they will practice it to play with their group of people. And it's like a information exchange. So like one's repertoire doesn't always have to have original works. Sometimes it's original work of someone else, and you're able to like copy down that work so that way you can perform it to someone else. And it's usually like folk songs, folk tales, stuff like that. I have those in my um, music sheet box. Original work, I quickly learned, was not often well received in an unruly tavern. I've been booed, I had tomatoes thrown at me, and I've even gotten into brawls because someone wanted to hear a song I didn't know how to play. Oh, like Freebird. So I had to learn, I had to adapt, I had to make it work. At times, I even stolen promising lyrics from my peers and rivals. I hated doing it, but I did it anyway. And all for what? Freedom, coin, glory. Gods, with so much time to think, I can't help wondering if the life I've led has been one worth living. The vampire was right about the maddening silence. Yeah, I think we had spent so much time surviving and never had the time to like really make something of our own. And now that it happens, we're kind of going through a whole the shining moment where all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy kind of scenario. I think we're going to end up making a song about our personal situation with our vampire. And I think that's where it's going to flow. And I think that we don't want to admit that we have feelings for our captorer, our vampire. And because we don't want to admit it, maybe that's where the blockage is coming. Because sometimes this happens to me where we focus on the wrong thing. Maybe our inspiration is not on the main project. And sometimes we have to do a side story or a short story or flash fiction or a fanfic just to get it out of our heads. And then we could like focus on this one thing that we've been working on for a whole time, for a long while. Uh, and I've been there. I totally been there. So I feel like this is where that arc is. I can't wait. I hope this is the case. Oh wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Did I miss something? Hold on. It must be well past midnight. Lucius should be here any minute now. I realized that I realized then that, while thoughts of his arrival used to fill me with dread, I recently looked forward to seeing him. Okay, we're getting used to each other. We shouldn't eat. Starving artists make great works more often than not. Really? I don't like it. if I have, if I'm not thinking straight, if I'm upset, if I'm hungry, I don't do well. I don't think well at all whatsoever. Most of the mental work is up here, and this requires a ton of sugar to keep it going. And usually that means food. Now, albeit, yes, you beat me to it. A starving artist will need to have the drive to get good at what they do in order to receive the funds they need. To have that drive, that passion to prove themselves, and that motivation will help them get there. But I often find time and time again that if I hurt myself by not feeding myself, not like taking care of my body, you know, I go overboard with what I do. I perform less than adequate. I'm still able to get it done, but it wasn't great. So same thing about the whole trope of, the um, mental health artist issues, where you don't need to have mental health issues, you don't need to be poor, you don't need to have all these tropes to like be good at your art, but it can help you be empathetic and connect because Some people will experience that and have gone through that similar situation. It's one way of connecting with another person because you live through that situation too. It's one way of immersing. But I don't think it's a requirement. We've been surprising each other with how easily the conversations came, how willing we were to talk. I often find myself trying to stay awake to finish a thought only to be shooed to bed the moment he catches me yawning. Oh, okay. So I like how they're choosing to let this develop after the Red Moose situation than before the Red Moose situation. I personally thought maybe this will be before the halfway point where we're starting to open up with each other, but maybe we are doing like a typical romance scenario where the antithesis of the friendship relationship happens in the halfway point and the openness, the exchange, the interactions come easily because they're able to at least come together or see each other as like friends or company or whatnot. So I get it. I respect this choice. I think it's actually better than what I originally thought. Now I think about it. So we are kind of following more the romantic trope, which is fine. It works. As much as it pains me, I just can't get the hang of the night cycles. I tried. Because being in his company is far more preferable than being stuck with my own. Oh no. We're falling for him. And also, we're not enjoying our own company, which is very dangerous. Like, if you're going to have a friendship or even a relationship with another person, you need to be your own best company. And it doesn't matter, like, who you are, where you come from. If you are not going to find that type of joy of enjoying your own time, enjoying your own hobbies and the things that you want to achieve and do, you're not going to you're going to see this relationship as your source of entertainment, your source of joy, your source of everything. And that's a lot of pressure on the other person, one. And two, um, you're kind of like hollowing yourself out where you become you're making your partner your personality. This has been mentioned. Oh yeah, let me let me do that. You've been tripping up the mud thing again. Um, I don't think it's just dependency. I think it's about um the extreme form of dependency, where we are very God, I forgot the term. I used it yesterday. I don't know why I forgot it today. But where we're so far clingy. It's the extreme form of dependency where we become so clingy simply because we're making the person our personality and depriving our own needs, depriving our own entertainment and happiness because we should not think about, we should not make our partners run around 24/7 depending on us, catering to us, seeing us all the time. We should strive to have our alone time and balancing with the together time. And that can look different for different couples in different spaces and time. Like, I heard this many times that most people see a good relationship where you could just hang out without saying anything to each other, where you could sit in a room and you do whatever you want, like playing a game or reading a book or whatever it is. And your partner will be sitting on a couch or a chair or in the same vicinity, and you just enjoy each other's presence. You don't have to fill in the gaps. You don't have to make them entertain you. You could just be. And that's how you can enjoy doing your own thing while also like being in a relationship. It's like a really good example. Also, too, you kind of want to have something to talk about. And it doesn't always have to be work, but it's like, oh, hey, this hobby that I'm really into right now, this new event happened, and I'm super stoked. I want to tell you all about it. You have something to talk about. And I think that's really cool. Now, my throat is really super sore because, of course, I'm a Gemini. I talk way, 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 way too much. I'm going to go get something to drink real quick. I'll be right back. very happy that you're together. Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry for the delay. My mom wanted to tell me about her story that she was working on. I, okay. I'm so tickled that my parents wanted to work on their stories. They got the storytelling bug earlier this year, and they both have been working on their own stuff. So she's been telling me how she worked up on some things, and she's like yapping me about it. No different than me yapping about like my books and my characters. She just grabbed me while I was getting some coffee. So apologies for being so late. I don't know how long I was gone, but I wanted to like let her talk about it to me because she doesn't always like open up about her story. So it's nice. Now, I won't talk about like her story or anything because it's still in like development. I don't want, anyone to try to take her story for themselves. So I'm keeping it very close to my chest just so she could like Sasha is trying to take this um wrapper that I have on my desk and she's trying to play with it. So, anywho, it's really cool. I like hearing what she's got so far. She's not like me at all whatsoever. She's a plotter. She plans things out, and she has to have like everything set up beforehand before she actually like puts more story to page, so to speak. And she wants to let me know like what she had like thought of so far. Sorry, I had to like rearrange some things here. Okay, I'm gonna continue on the story. Again, apologies for being late. Let me continue. This leaves me cherishing the few hours we have together each night. Oh no, we are falling for each other. Without even realizing it, I have flipped through every page of my songs. My hand pauses over the inside cover of my journal. I gaze absent-mindedly at the strange runic symbol on the first page, some sort of bejeweled pendant encircled by a knotted half wreath of thorns, which has somehow resisted fading no matter how often I touched it over the years. Brushing over the bold red ink, I wonder if I'm imagining the faintly sharp prickle across the pads of my fingers. Below the symbol, written in a harried, clumsy scrawl, are the words: Keep safe. Oh. Okay, so someone put a protection spell? I once felt unease from such simple words. Looking at them now only tightens the knot at the pit of my gut. Maybe this is a sign that I need to move on to better and bigger things. That I've been too rooted in the past. I shut the journal. My chair squeals against the floor as I stand up, resting my palms on the other side of this blasted book. Ooh, okay. What are we gonna do? No! I could toss it into the fireplace if I wanted to. Here and now, I could break the final chains linking me to my past. Don't! There's nothing wrong in having a wealth of songs to use. If you want a fresh journal, get a fresh journal. Put that journal on a shelf, so to speak. Heck, give it to the vampire. And then, get a new journal entirely and start fresh. Do, and from the ashes we rise again. I felt like there will be a time in our lives where as a creative urge, we could go back to the songs that had raised us or moved us, and we could integrate some of those melodies as like commentary to where we have come from and harken back to it. Because that can happen with some artists and musicians. And I feel like you don't need to destroy what you have written down. You don't. You can, however, don't work in that journal anymore. Get a totally new one without burning anything. Then again, as someone who does like storytelling, I have several files and several printouts of my old drafts just so in case something weird happens, I could go back to those things once again and, like refer to how things had developed, the mindset that I had, or any of the scenes I had cut out. I could always revisit and go, okay, well, I was originally planning to have it here. Maybe I could insert it in a later book. You don't have to burn, but burning forces you to commit to success, but that is my opinion. True. And I respect that opinion. But I also disagree. While I respect it, then again, I am sentimental. I'm a very sentimental person. I don't see it as a way of like holding myself down. And I guess it's because once I put it down on the page, I hardly revisit. And I just leave it be and like moved on. Keep safe. Those were her instructions to me. All right, who is her? Our past girlfriend or past lover? Was the queen that sent us here was called Ophelia, or maybe like some sort of O starting name? Or were we once in love with this majesty that sent us here to die? Those were her instructions to me. Try as I might, I can't defy them. I gathered the journal into my arms, cradling against my chest. For a moment, I can still feel that blossom of warmth from the words. Keep safe. I'm going to go find Lucius. The silence truly is maddening. Okay, so we did burn it. We're trying to get over an old girlfriend. So finally, background of this character, Deb. Oh, honey, it went under. Sasha is playing with a cute little toy. I gather my things, striding out into the hall. And we collided into the vampire! Oh no! Lurking outside. He catches me by the forearms, taking a step back to keep us balanced, although my journal supplies tumble to the floor. Oh no! Lucius. Abnormal. Lucius releases me once he's sure I'm steady and immediately bends to pick up the mess. No, don't. I seize the journal and hold it away from him. Are we? Are we ashamed that we have these old songs of Olivia? He eyes me with some measure of confusion, but shrugs and picks up the loose parchment instead. I see you found some old supplies. I'm glad they're getting some use, though I really thought the ink would have dried out by now. What have you written so far? There once an old man in a farm? I snatched the documents from him. I won't have you making fun of my first drafts. What are you doing out here? I didn't wish to disturb you. You look like you were trying to focus. That's why! That's why he didn't want to come at midnight. Oh no, maybe he's catching feelings for us too. Maybe he's being considerate. Actually, no, hold on. Instead of being so silly lovey-dovey here for a second, maybe he's just being considerate because that's who he is as an honorable, noble man who's now a vampire who's immortal. And of course, he would be considerate to his guests. Why wouldn't he? Type of thing. But, like, he did have to. Because you have an agreement. You're supposed to perform at midnight. Why be considerate? Maybe there's a little change here. In vain, perhaps. There was not much to disturb. But you were trying to be considerate. Thank you. Lucius nods, dismissive but polite. He doesn't like to acknowledge gratitude. Were you to rush out of the chamber like a bat from a cave? Why? Rushing to seek inspiration elsewhere? Oh, if my mask could work. No, No. Gods, I can't just admit that I wanted to talk to him until I forget my grievances. Isn't it time for our nightly ballad? He watches me through narrowed eyes, but favors me with a small smile. You need not hurry for such a thing. If you wish to write tonight, you may write. Come. What? 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 Wait. Sorry. Lucius all but pulls me back into the chamber, coaxing me to be seated once again at the writing desk. I feel like this is like a... Not necessarily like how Disney did it, but like how the Beast is starting to accommodate Belle with her interest and what she likes to do. And I feel like someday we're going to have a whole opening up the whole library for our bookworm desires type of thing. And I feel like this is kind of similar where we're allowing our new guest, our friend, possibly, question mark, allowing them to have a space, accommodating them by having a little bit of food, a little bit of the writing supplies. Though I don't think that writing supplies are as old as he says it is. I think it's actually new. I scowl at him, drawing my knees to my chest. Lucius, you don't. Heels off the furniture. I scowl at him harder, but lower my legs to flatten my heels on the floor. I wanted to write, but I couldn't think of anything. You also never finish your soup. It's gone cold. He looks pointedly at my bowl. Is he also, like... I know it was mentioned earlier in passing in this game, where he will fuss over her. Like, making sure that she sleeps, making sure that she has food, making sure that she's not cold. So I wonder if all this fussing belies like a deeper motive. I think now I could say that it's probably safe-ish to trust the vampire because he's taking the effort and time to get out of this way to provide or accommodate or be concerned of our well-being. You are a terribly slow eater, aren't you? I may yet expire before you finish it. I am not a slow eater, I'm a distracted eater. Why do you want my soup? Here. I push it towards him. He gently pushes it back. No, thank you. My taste buds aren't quite what they used to be. A mortal's meal might as well be a mouthful of dust. Aha! So we are keeping that part of the lore. That explains your cooking. Lucius arches a brow at me. Forgive me, that was uncalled for. Have I done something to annoy you? Are we frustrated because we have unspoken desires? Is that what's going on here? No, not at all. I chew my lip. I don't think I want to write anymore, and I don't want any more of this soup. Ah, I was presumptuous then. I wouldn't go that far. Look, can we just talk for a while? That was what I wanted. He extends his arm, gesturing for me to take the opposite seat to him. I relocate gratefully away from the writing desk, slumping onto the cushioned bench. You have something on your mind? Yes, no, yes, but I don't want to talk about it. I understand. What would you like to discuss then? Lucius leans forward with his elbows propped on his knees. With a candid way, he's staring at me. I almost feel like I could tell him anything. Oh no! Is he like compelling her to like open up? But I'd rather not talk about myself, not yet. What what do you eat? I mean, you sustain yourself with blood, but if you only get a guess every couple of years, and even then, sometimes you let them go or don't feed them at all. I can make do with animal blood, fish mostly, as the moat is rich with them. Oh, that really explains his cooking. It's another thing I've been wondering. If you can't cross the water, how do you get the fish? By using tools like any civilized mammal. So a fishing rod. You fish? Sometimes I use a net. Sometimes I use a spear and some rope. I have a very strong throwing arm. I don't know if the cardiovascular system of a fish is sufficient compared to a cardiovascular system of a mammal like a rat or anything small of that size. This is me, thinking a little too hard about this. Against my better judgment, I observe his shoulders and upper arms, searching for any hits of bulging muscle under his sleeves. If Lucius notices me doing it, he keeps it to himself. Why are we looking like that? For that matter, I'm surprised you haven't asked how I intend to ensure your freedom when I myself cannot cross the water. Because I haven't thought about what I would do when I leave. The thought feels like an anchor in my chest, a heavy reminder of the future. I I presumed you tell me when it was time? Of course. I could also tell you early. I would simply throw you across the moat like a javelin. You wouldn't. He practically cackles as I recoil from him. I wouldn't. There is another way. I will show you in due time. Ah, then, good. Okay, we're starting to have friendly banter. We're very open with each other. We've been accommodating each other's needs. We're very friendly. This is a nice development. I like this. We lapse into a hollow silence as my mind wanders back to my travels until the vampire starts making a tutting sound at me. He studies my face with intent, and I realize too late that my pleasantly neutral facade had at some point fallen into a frown. You're in low spirits tonight. Is the weather bringing you down? How else could I help? Okay. He's being very nice. I'm beginning to think that this is not in any way form of manipulation. I don't think this is any form of I think they become very close to his I think they're both being comfortable with each other's presence to the point where they're being so cordial with each other. They are just able to drop each other's, guards a little bit here. It's been long enough where they could just get along. Yeah, he eats people. But he's also mentioning that he eats fish more than people. And because of his, very rigid sense of right and wrong, he's not the type of person who likes criminals. Um, he's opened up quite a bit. So I'm beginning to think that there is some level or cordiality that is very akin to like maybe a romance, maybe a friendship, very not in any way in form of trying to manipulate or gaslight or anything, because he's been consistently making way to accommodate this bard, making way to um, provide as much as he could with bare essentials that he has. And for the most part, she's doing the same. I mean, she is being a terribly good guest, even to the point of cleaning up after herself, which is not a characteristic I was expecting. So I feel like the whole blood moon event between the two of them really opened up the floodgates of them wanting to seek companionship simply because of them being isolated for so long in their lives. Our bard, even though she was in the crowd, feels isolated, feels alone. And of course, he's physically isolated for like lengths of time. Fish blood, ew, maybe shark blood. Now he's been saying fish, which depends on the kind of fish. Again, I feel like it's not enough to sustain him. Like, again, I feel like Lucius is going very Lestat in that regard, where he's in this phase of his vampirism life, where he's trying to take the high moral road of denying his vampirism just a little bit. Though it does seem to counteract with his viewpoint of, I am immortal. I am above you mortals, you humans. I'm no longer a human. I accepted who I am. I am this mysterious vampire man. And I feel like that kind of goes against the whole Lestat being courteous, kind type of thing. Lestat, the sulking, the conversations, the attempts to learn about us and please us without warding superiority. This is Armand. Ooh, yeah. Yes. I think this is more Lamond than Lestat. I haven't watched a lot of the Castlevania personally, but what little I know, I feel like Armand is like very benevolent from what little I heard about Armand. If I'm thinking about the Armand from Castlevania, if I'm wrong, please let me know. Maybe you're thinking of someone else. But I was thinking like not the current vampire interview with the vampire Lestat, because I don't know what they're doing in that Netflix. I keep thinking of the Brad Pitt um, and Tom Cruise interview with a vampire. Oh, then I don't know. My only frame of reference is that particular movie. Who is Armand? Hold on. He does sound familiar. I should know him. Oh, he was played by Antonio Banderas. I don't know. It must be different how they're doing it in Netflix and the main books. compared to like how they did it in that old movie. Maybe the old movie deviated where Armand was, I don't know. I do need to read up on Anne Rice and her books and her works, and I really need to like read up with everything else that has come out of those works. She was very strict in how her works were portrayed, which, good for her. But now that she has passed away, I feel like we might have like deviated a little bit. Or there's a chance of like expanding the universe a little. I hope not. I hope they're like really close to her work. But I feel like he's more or less that in that interview with the vampire movie with the Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and Antonio Banderas. That how they portrayed Armand was Armand who accepted as a vampire, never belittled it. He enjoyed and reveled in nourishing himself upon like humans. He even had like a play for all the other vampires to enjoy as they torture the humans on stage in this little fake play of sorts. And he was okay being a vampire. I feel like the reason why I keep thinking Lucius is going through this phase of being Lestat is that there was a moment in time where Lestat like hated being a vampire, that he deprived himself and tried to waste himself away, trying not to prey on people, not like, you know, trying to feed on rats, etc. So I felt like this is where Lucius is going. Get the vodka. Armand's backstory is something. The interview with the vampire TV show is pretty faithful. Oh, good. Then maybe I will watch it. Because I have a huge TBR list of all the books I want to read, sci fi, fantasy, and otherwise, and I never got my hands on it. For some reason or another, I never really got into the whole vampire thing. They simplified telepathy and removed David Talbot. Fans hate David and even Anne regret writing him. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So I probably will jump into that Netflix TV show just so I could have a tertiary experience to her works and her books. And hopefully someday I'll be able to like get my hands on her novels. I knew people who did and who loved it. And I had the option to read it and I never took it. I was too busy focusing on like Sailor Moon and other like superhero stuff. I was like in a superhero kick. Now I think about it with Batman and Sailor Moon and the Justice League. I always love comic books, but like in a film format instead of a comic book format. I really need to get my hands on comic books more. And vampires and monsters and unreliable narrators, not everyone likes that. Oh, that's okay. I feel like here, this is fairly straightforward with this story. Oh no, you don't need to go that far. You did nothing wrong, but like, there's no need to point that out. Um, Let me get back into this. I feel like this Lucius has a very high sense of moral code. And it really belies his original nature of being a quote unquote monster. And it seems fascinating how he has this mindset, but still like accepting that he's immortal. And I do like, how Anne approaches the vampires that they are monsters. And I feel like here in this game, we're experiencing more like the Beauty and the Beast kind of situation, where instead of the beast is the vampire. Oh, Menage a Trois. I don't think I ever got my hands on it. In fact, I don't think I ever did. I suppose I could try telling you a joke, but I only know the one, and no, I shouldn't. I will refrain. It's quite filthy. Okay, so he's really giving like paladin vibes here. That piques my interest. I don't mind dirty jokes. I spend a lot of time in taverns, I'm almost certain I've heard them all. No, Abby Normal, you don't understand. This is not meant for polite company. She's a bard! She's not polite company. She's only being polite to you. We don't need to be polite company all the time, do we? We can be a little impolite. It is not a little impolite. It is unforgivably dirty. Please, Lucius. Very well. I can't say I didn't warn you. It's not too late to change your mind. Lucius, you're killing me. Do you want me to beg? I don't think I can go on without hearing it. Oh, a little zoom? His laugh is a low rumble in his chest, and he still makes me wait several seconds before he finally delivers his dirty joke. A white horse falls in waist deep mud. Wait, that's it? Hold on. A white horse falls in waist deep mud. It sounds like spy code. It sounds like a thief's cant. What is this? Happy Pride, I guess? That's it. That's the no! Oh my god, are we learning that he's autistic? It's a butt stuff joke? True. You don't know what kind of mud we're talking about. The horse is actually literally filthy. It's a filthy horse. Of course, it's a dirty joke because the horse is filthy. Our vampires are autistic. Oh my god, this will explain why our vampire is so rigid. I kind of like this. That's it? That's the dirtiest joke, Wait a minute. He tricked me. He played me for a fool. Oh, I should be so furious with him, but indignant laughter is already bubbling from between my lips. Wait, how dare you? It's not even funny. You're the worst. Okay, maybe it's me not understanding, but don't explain. My laughter ripples into a snort, and I know it's futile to try to contain it. Lucius smiles at me all the while, incorrigibly satisfied. Gods, I hate this vampire. No, you don't. I had a similar reaction when I first heard the joke. It pleases me to do some justice. You burst out laughing. Right? I told Stephanie boys count hairs and boys to distract themselves, yeah. I think this is why I was kind of off put by vampires because of the Twilight series. The whole hype that surrounds it. I I am so picky with anything that's romance that any sort of red flags in a relationship, I drop it. I drop the book and I just don't read it. I get angry. Real angry. There was one story, I think I have it, that I absolutely hate how she portrayed it. Let me see if I can see it. Yeah, the unfortunate side effects of heartbreak and magic. She did a great job. I mean, the story is well done. The characters are well done for the most part. Um, for a magical realism, it's all right. It could have been more magical, in my opinion. Then again, I deal with more fantasy all the time. But it's a romance of a normal small town. She was like a kitchen witch, and all of her food is like magically delicious, which defies like what the recipe is. Which if you try to recreate the recipes, it will turn out awful. But with her hands, it's magically well done. So, it makes sense. But this kitchen witch was in love with this firefighter that came into town, and he's trying to buy a house for him and his fiancee who's pregnant. And oh no, this is the firefighter she used to know when they were children, and they end up falling in love with each other. So I just didn't like it. And I didn't like how everyone was pushing for them to be together. And I absolutely hate it because he wasn't that kind of guy that would be worth having a relationship with at all. He was like a jerk. So, no, I'm like super duper like picky about romances of any sort, and it takes me a while to like love something that I appreciate. And I think I need to get back into it. Love Across the Tabletop. My fellow author from Four Horsemen Publications, Kate Disney Lagers, she did a wonderful job creating a romance of like um, Dungeon and Dragon, tabletop players, and like how this one player fell in love with another. And it's also like really great representation. The main character is bisexual, and it's one of those like comfort hurt kind of relationships. And there's a little bit of a tense dynamic because it's a relationship she should not get into because he's not ready for it yet. But the chemistry is there. And so I like it. So it's one of the only romances I actually like and appreciate. But like with Twilight, I don't care for it. It just rubs me the wrong way. And there are some like instances where I'm like, I don't think it's okay to like try to continue it in a romance kind of setting. All vampire romances are red flags. That's true. That's true. I detest how Stephanie ruined Jacob after the second book to make Edwards more appealing. Yeah, I heard that a lot of people were Team Jacob because he was a little bit more emotionally stable. Well, he doesn't try to manipulate her for the most part. Then wrap the personality changes. Oh, swap the personality changes with the Werewolf Awakening. True. It got really cringy at the end from what I heard and saw from the trailers and what people had spoiled about the movies. And I felt like I'm kind of glad I didn't like fall into that camp. I'm one of those people that if I want a gothic romance that's a bad romance, I would have gone with the whole Phantom of the Opera bit. where you have two people vying for the love of one person, and you have pluses and minuses with both. But there is like the dangerous element with the quote unquote bad guy, but the bad guy is actually like more mature, knowledgeable. Okay, maybe not mature. Now I think about it, maybe that is also like a red flag situation. But Raul is also like, how can he not notice her until that moment? I don't know. She doesn't even follow her own lore. Ooh, that's like a cinema sin. Kept the same personality after becoming a werewolf and was more chill than before turning in the last page. In the last book. Yeah. I do need. I think I should try my best to. I think all authors should try our best and try to hold ourselves accountable. There's a tendency with bigger authors as they produce more works that there's a little bit of, well, you know what you're doing. Everyone loves it, so we're going to let some things slide because you're popular. And I feel like there should be some level of accountability that we need to hold for ourselves and trying to produce the work that is to our level of quality if everyone is going to let something slide. Highlight the fact that Jacob was implanted with a douche person. True. True. I don't remember my exact reaction. It was a long time ago. Well, do you remember who taught you that joke? A former guest, Gillian. Lucius's face softens and my laughter stops like a clogged drain. There's that sadness again. Wait, is Gillian? Does this poor vampire fall in love with every guest, or almost every guest that he accommodates? I would like that to be true. That is sad. Did he eat him? I don't know. That he told a joke and he liked it. And then he's sad. He didn't try to barter with that joke, did he? Oh gods, can you imagine? No, this was before I began bartering with people. A darker time. Were your dark times lifted with a joke about a white horse? Lucius smiles at me wearily. Would you like me to tell you about him? I'm surprised at myself when the words spill from my mouth. None of it troubles you. I mean, if you wish to tell me, I will listen. Lucius hesitates, tapping on his collarbone while he musters the initiative to speak. When I was first exiled to this estate 300 years ago, there truly was no escape. I frequently fought with the desperate men and women who were set here. They feared me, even when I showed them kindness and reason, and made a point to attack me when I least expected it. Honestly, I would do the same. You know, like how I was in the beginning of this game. I was thinking a way out, I was thinking escape routes, I was thinking of how to fight out of this situation. I would have done the same. My spine stiffens. That frightened, desperate outlook sounds grimly similar to my own back when I first arrived. You had no choice but to defend yourself. Really, Abby? Are we being this? Okay. I did try other methods in hope of coexisting, of earning their trust, but yes, they tended to turn on me regardless. It often resulted in a fight to the death, their death at our hands. Ooh, so maybe Gillian died because they tried to kill him as they leave, or tried to leave. I could never resist untying them. I felt a certain kinship for them, I suppose, before it was inevitably dashed. It was never difficult to overpower them. They were mere humans, and I was an immortal being. I was becoming more powerful with age. Until one day when I was careless, I subdued an intruder and left her at the brink of death. Unbeknownst to me, conditions were ripe for her to turn. As a vampire spawn, she was vicious. Her anger overpowered any compulsion I had over her. Ooh, this is weird. And she managed to run me through in the same moment I ripped out her throat. That is a little weird. Because your own vampire spawn will have no choice but to submit under your control. Usually, right? And I guess it's because it's his first time having a vampire spawn that he doesn't know how to make that happen. Lucius's hands. Lucius's hand hovers over his chest where his wound must have been. I was alive, but I was pinned down, paralyzed in place. I was lucky to have fallen in the shadows near my coffin. The vampire spawn was not so lucky. She was well and truly dead, and so she began to decompose, though those claws remained embedded in my chest as a parting gift. I was perpetually awake, but I could not move. I must have laid there for nearly 2 years. Only command spawns who have logic and sanity on? True. We don't know the mental state that they have. And they did fight before, they turned. So that aggression would still continue. Lucius, I'm so sorry. Why are you being sorry? You should be concerned. You run into a lot of strife when you become as old as I have. It is not unusual. Yes, but it must have been harrowing. Mostly I was just bored. We are not picking up the clues here. He's being aloof, but his hand is massaging his chest right through his heart. I assume he doesn't want to show weakness. Gillian was the one who found me there. Ooh, okay. So the vampire spawn is not Gillian. Gillian came after. He gave me a wide berth at first, approached only to use the vampire spawn's claws to cut his bonds before jumping away. Comically, really. By then, I was practically a husk. I could sense him, but could not move and could not speak. I would sense him coming and going each night, wandering the estate much like you've been doing. After some time, he returned to my side and tugged the claws out of my chest. He what? I knew the story must have been leading there, but it was still a bit of a shock. Why on earth would someone release a petrified vampire? Are we cynical or are we naive? My first inclination is this. Honestly, my first thoughts is he got bored and he wanted company. It's not kindness, it's not stupidity. He was curious. I wish there's a third option. And I feel like because he was curious and was wondering what had happened, he did it just to figure out what happened to you. He could have, if he really wanted to, finish him. He could have, but he didn't. So I feel like there's some level of curiosity there, and that by getting to know him, he was able to like have an accord, like a bard here. Because again, our vampire is very rigid in their sense of place and how they conduct themselves. I'm torn because I don't think he's stupid. Because I don't think he's stupid, I'm gonna go for kind. Then again, like doing this speaks of our character's mindset of being a survivalist, you know, thinking that anyone who's being beneficial or kind as being naive. And for me personally, I don't have that kind of mentality. So this would be closer to like my mindset. Though it's not exactly how I would think. Guests aren't scheduled unlike supply drops, so killing a guest would create. No, no, no. I mean, like the guest. The guy who was sent to this island. He had all the opportunities to kill Lucius, but he did. He released him. He was able to like pull those things out of his chest to help him pretty much come back to life, revitalize him because he was like a shriveled prune. So if we're like a survivalist, still thinking this is our enemy, still thinking that we should like get rid of this Lucius, we probably could say he must be stupid. Because we're still thinking of like a way out of here. But I'm personally leaning to he must be kind. Even though I don't think it is. I don't think it is kind. I think he's curious about this vampire that he sent to die for him. Can he be killed? Why else would the crown contain him? Oh, there's ways of killing a vampire. We just don't know how this world lore is set up. Because, like, every artist picks and chooses how they want to lean into the lore of the vampires, the vampiric lore, and a lot of publishers, like when the Twilight thing was going on, really didn't like how people were throwing some of the lore out of the window and just kind of like slapping, a very band aid, he's a vampire, but not really a vampire type of thing. And a lot of publishers didn't like that. When I was querying, I saw a lot of posts of saying, please adhere to the lore. So, for the most part, every artist picks and chooses how we interpret the vampiric lore and how it contains in our like story in our environment. So I don't know how he's gonna die, but I know that there's always a chance he can with vampires. Even old ones like Lucius here. So why on earth would someone release a petrified vampire? He must have been incredibly kind. I suppose he felt some kinship for you. You were both trapped. He certainly was kind, much too kind, I think. Lucius chuckles quietly. He was the one who drew that portrait, the scrap you found. We burned wood together to make charcoal and made all kinds of artwork during his day. Ooh, so now the question is that portrait him or not? Oh, wait, no, 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 no. He said this already. He said the portrait was that majesty that sent him here, right? I destroyed much of his work when I lost him, and I regret allowing my emotions to get in the way of reason. Okay, so we end up falling in love with our past Gillian and mourned for him. Okay. It wasn't just fair. The way he convinced me to have compassion for others, the way his gentle nature allowed us to gather a motley little group. It wasn't fair. The way this little group of guests I had. They're the ones who figured out a way to escape this blasted estate. I encouraged Gillian to go with them, but he wanted to stay behind. He wanted to stay with me. Oh no, Gillian fell in love with the vampire too! Which meant, of course, that my very next guest was a cruel one. I awoke to the intruder rifling through my things while Gillian bled out in the courtyard. So they were able to escape, and he stayed behind. For some reason, their escape plan didn't include him leaving. There's something else going on here where he has to stay. Death is a fate all mortals share. I know it all too well, but it shouldn't have been his time. As I let the story sink in, my next words were quietly careful. Did he kill his murderer? Ruthlessly, but it gave me no satisfaction. My Lucius heaved a heavy, shuddering breath. Gillian was still gone. I was alone again and had no one else to blame. I'm gonna go with this. This feels like it was love. I don't think he was trying to turn him because he was willing to let him go. He was willing to, like, make him leave, make other people escape, allow Gillian to, like, draw portraits for him and whatnot. He was willing to, like, let him leave. And if he had wished to turn him, he would have done so before the next person arrived. There would have been a vampire couple. So, honestly, if he had turned him, he would have done so, because Gillian would have been too willing. For him to not turn him means that there must be something going on. Which, if he was in love with him, he could have turned him and have a vampire couple kind of situation. You know? There could have been two wonderful gay vampires taking over the world. It could have been both. But no, I assumed that maybe Gillian didn't want to be a vampire and he was trying to make accommodations for him. You were in love with him, weren't you? Yes. Though it's nice to have like a vampire groom. I do need to read like Carmilla and like really get into this whole like sapphic romance vampire thing that like really started it all. I really need to read that. Speaking of vampires, I saw a clip of a funny vampire movie recently. Ooh, what's it called? If it has like Nicolas Cage in it, I do want to see that, even though it's like a very bad vampire movie. Well, bad. I haven't seen it yet. You become more direct with each passing day, Abby Normal. Yes, I loved him. I'm no stranger to the company of men, women, and anyone in between. Neither was he. Pansexual vampire! Let's go! Dracula dead and loving it? Okay, I had to look it up. Happy Pride, everyone. Be a gay vampire. Oh, yes?
Which flavor?
Oh!
Which flavor? Because I'm gonna put it under the sink so everybody can have it.
Oh, cool. I'll have the vanilla. The lavender vanilla. Thank you.
Okay.
It's chapstick, the one from Burpees. Well, technically my mom, but it's Burpees chapstick. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and you don't have to put it underneath the sink. You put it in the pantry. I think that's easier on everyone. Whatever, you know. Okay. See you soon. 30 Days of Night for proper horror bestial vampires. Ooh. Yeah, if I want more horror. I had seen the recent, well, actually, there's like several Dracula movies that came out in the past couple of years, which, you know, another recession indicator where you have like Frankenstein and vampires coming out of the woodworks, or they're signing off to like those type of movies. And it's the proper horror one that's like a redone of the Nosferatu, I think. First time I heard your mom's voice. She is a private person along with like the rest of my family. My brother's not so much. You know, he doesn't mind like hopping in and saying hi. Oh man, I needed this. My lips were so dry. I'm using the lavender vanilla. I love lavender. Ooh, I also need to watch this movie called Demeter, where it was when I think it's called Demeter, where it's Dracula using the boat, and the boat is trying to head to London. And of course, you know, we know how it ends at the end, where everyone was killed. And it was a murder mystery kind of situation. And the police were investigating this boat that came up, and like most of the crew is dead, except for this one person, I think. I had to read Bram Stoker's Dracula. But I think it was the ship called Demeter. Carmex. I never heard of Carmex. Thankfully, there's like a lot of bomb brands out there. I just like Burpees because their original formulas just work so well. I'm such a dry person. I have issues about like moisturizing myself. Um, I get dried out very easily. Yes, I loved him. I'm no stranger to the company of men, women, and anyone in between. Neither was he. Oh, okay. Though many years have passed, I still remember him fondly. He was a good man. It was some time after that when I began bartering with my guest. Okay, so he really changed him. Immediately offering them freedom made them cagey. They suspected me of foul play, of being up to something. It was as if they needed to pay a price for their freedom. It helped them feel at ease and control. It helped them make sense of. He gestures to himself. I remember the scuffle we had when I first arrived, the way he disarmed me, but otherwise kept his distance, the way he prowled around and said those menacing things. Okay, so we had a character development a long time ago. Thanks to a wonderful man. You had to play the part people expected of you. It is exhausting, but they fear me more if I don't. And of course, bartering does not come from a place of pure altruism. gives me something to look forward to, elevates my apprehension of what the next guest will have in store. When one finds himself acting as the Queen's personal executioner, the odds are high that some of the people she sends would be dangerous. Though occasionally, I will receive someone kind enough to offer a listening ear, like Gillian, like you. I blink at him, bewildered. I think he's starting to open up because he's reminded of Gillian. And we are acting like Gillian in some way. We're an artist, like he was. He was a drawer, a drawing artist, maybe a painter, and she was, she is a bard, a musician. And maybe like because we're so sympathetic and just falling for him, there's a little bit of, oh, you remind me of someone I once knew. Maybe I'll allow myself to open up because you remind me of him. This really makes sense. I like this game. I like how they flesh out the characters. Though this is very, very, very dialogue heavy, which is kind of to be expected with a visual novel. There's nothing much going on in the environment. It's just the two of them. Gillian was kind, but he was a notoriously bad listener. He would have interrupted me 10 times just then, usually with some absurd tangent about how he thought snails were effervescent. What I mean is to say is, thank you for listening my sad old tale about a lost love. I've never told it to anyone before. This is our song! This is the song we need to make. Can I ask you one more question? Of course, anything. Something about that last word makes my stomach flutter. No, I must be hungry. I grab my deserted bowl and sip out the cold soup. If Gillian was such a good man, what did he do to get sent here? What was his crime? Oh no! Oh no, he's getting too close. Lucius outright grins at the question. He edges a little closer to me, as if he wishes to rope me into a conspiracy. Well, maybe we could be like a normal spoony bar, have a romance with him, leave into the sunset, and like tell everyone about like how awesome of a vampire he is with his lost love and make millions. And like give him some royalty payments for having the original concept, Lucius outright grins at the question. Oh yeah, rope me into conspiracy. Here we go. Supposedly, he painted an unflattering portrait of a nobleman's daughter. What? That's it? Yes, and Gillian couldn't help it. He was both an architect and prestigious painter, lauded for his accuracy and attention for detail. To willfully make the girl more beautiful than she was, well, it would have been a lie. It would have tarnished his good name. The daughter's betrothed took one look at the portrait and canceled their arrangement, leaving the nobleman high and dry with an unwedded daughter. Baked without stuffing, what a poor way to go. The nobleman needed someone to take the fall and convince the crown to send Gillian here. But it wasn't Gillian's fault that the man had an ugly daughter. I don't think she was ugly. I think the dude is just judgy. I'm sure there's someone out there who would perceive the daughter as beautiful. You just need to find the right guy. I clasped my hand over my mouth. My giggles were punctuated only by the sound of crackling fire. I hadn't anticipated that Lucius would make me laugh more than once, let alone show such vulnerability tonight. It is so odd. It sounds like the artist was punished for revealing the truth, even if it wasn't entirely his intent to do so. In a way, I suppose I also... ... I swiveled my lute into my lap and gazed down at it. It's awash in glowing firelight. I think I'm ready to tell you what I did, Lucius. He straightens immediately, at attention. Really? Yes. You kept me waiting for so long. I didn't expect. Hold on, just a moment. I need a drink. Shall I fetch you a glass as well? I think it would be nice to keep my throat from going dry, yes. What do you have on the menu? Wine. Blood wine. Dun dun dun. This tale is from Sasha, by the way. She's probably looking for ways to like nap on this desk once she's settled. You have wine? Where? Since when? I mean, sure, if you don't mind sharing. Lucius shoots me a mysterious winning grin before he stalks off into the halls. Where does he hide these things? Every so often, Lucius will present me with some new object or tool. No, that's not for you to play with. Sorry, she's playing on the desk. Sorry. No, no, you don't eat that. You don't play with it. It's the wrappings from the chapstick that she wanted to play with. And, it's plastic with adhesive on it. I don't want her to eat it. Every so often, Lucius will present me with some new object or tool from God knows where. Just earlier this week, he fetched me a ladder to climb the ledge when I complained about running out of bathing water. Once I climbed up, he made me promise not to attempt the perilous journey of swimming across the moat, and then handed me a bucket and told me to take all the water I needed. It's stuff like this that makes me think that perhaps he's not that type of conniving vampire. Is he gifting us possessions of former guest? Possibly. But I don't think. Pretty sure that an estate like this would have once servants, and you're going to have servants that had the ability to do maintenance and other work around the mansion or, estate. And they're going to have a ladder. They're going to have a bucket. And I'm pretty sure that he's getting it from the servant quarters. It would make sense to me. So I don't think it's like possessions from other people. I think it's like he knows this place from inside out where he even steps into the servant quarters to get these, wares. Which makes sense. So I'm beginning to think like this game is really good in making me like change my mind about him, and thus our character's mind is different. We have different expectations. I feel like this is one of those vampires where I would have let my guard down. I would have like hold him to a higher standard simply because he's willing to change and adapt and be courteous and whatnot because of that Gillian incident. He has turned a new leaf, so to speak. So I feel like I'm not inclined to fight him at all. I don't think I would ever like betray him or kill him. But I do want to leave. I don't want to stay here. Even though this character is falling for him, I don't want us to do another Gillian because we're going to just be trapped here. And if I leave, there's a chance of me. No, no, no. It's not for you to bite. It's not yours to bite. She's bored. She's biting things. about you go and find something else to do? So, anywho, I still want to leave because there might be a chance of us like freeing him later. Maybe we could expose something to like get the people to rally to free him. Who knows? Or, or find a way to like, I don't know, find a way to like help him become mortal, per se. And if he's tired of this life, find a way of curing him. I could swear I've walked through every hall and peeked in every room. Not once have I ever seen any ladders or buckets until I materialized them into existence. Maybe he knows creation spells, conjuration magic. A vampire who knows magic, that would be the day. Oh my god, that scared me. I was focusing on Sasha. Lucius returns as I muse over the idea of presenting me with my promised glass. Deep red wine sloshes gently within, glistening like black opal in the room's low light. Oh no! I'm afraid that might be blood instead of red wine. Though I'm assuming. What are we thinking? Is it blood or is it wine? I would have brought you an entire barrel, but the wine is hard to come by around these parts. Better be frugal with it. You can carry an entire barrel? I told you I have a strong arm. When I first arrived, I even hauled my coffin up all those flight of stairs. Admittedly, it was exhausting. I was strong enough to do it, but I don't have unlimited stamina. And why were you hauling a coffin upstairs? You wanted to be closer to the sky? You know me so well already. Lucius returns as Satan crosses his legs, sipping his wine and peering at me over the rim. He looks very at ease indeed. At ease and powerful. I take a slow gulp of my own wine. It's sweeter than I expected, with undertone of currants and plums. Okay. Maybe it is wine. I hope. She would have gagged if it's not, right? Well, hang on. If you're so strong, how was I able to escape you? I yanked myself free when I first arrived. That sounds dangerously close to a compliment, Abby Normal. I'm just curious. I don't begrudge you for it, but surely you realize by now that I'm very disciplined and have incredible self control. I realized I released you because I have no desire to restrain you. You are acting like a stray cat who didn't want to be held. I don't wish to be scratched. True. Gee, thanks. Discipline, incredible self control. You're full of praise for yourself tonight, Lucius. I'm serious. These attributes of my character ensure that I would never bring harm to you. Not unless you ask of it. Not unless you asked it of me. I coughed into my wine. What is that supposed to mean? Oh no! Consensual bondage? Do you need water? No, I'm fine. Can you hear how fast my heart is beating? I pluck absent-mindedly at my lute string, still uncertain if I'm ready to reveal the parts of myself I'd rather forget. But he has been vulnerable with me. It's only fair that I be vulnerable with him in turn. And there is no time like the present. I should start with some context. I told you before that I grew up here in Alluvia. I neglected to mention that it was an orphanage, Nightingale Gardens home for girls. Okay, so this is like a backstory swapping day. Again, a lot of dialogue. I wish it was a flashback. I would love a flashback. In fact, if this was a book situation, I would love to have a flashback of him being in a romance with Gillian. And then we flash back into her experience growing up in the orphanage. I would love that very much. Again, this is very dialogue heavy, which, I'm not surprised. But I would love to like have a flashback here. Just to break things up. His lip just barely twitches, as if he recognizes the name. I wouldn't be surprised if so. It's a very old, long established institution. One of his previous guests might have mentioned it or grew up here like me. Everyone told me it was an invaluable place to be, especially to the matrons, who are always so proud to work there. They told me girls would go as far as to murder their own parents in hopes of being sent to Nightingale Gardens. I never heard of it actually happening, but that was the prevailing attitude. Because the girls of this orphanage were guaranteed to have a place in high society, we were educated vigorously in manners of court, history, handwriting, sewing, and entertainment. Every several dozen years, the best and brightest girl was even chosen to become Luvia's next queen. Well, yeah, he knew the queen personally before he was sent to this island, so he probably knew she came from such a establishment. Did they have that tradition when you were human, Lucius? I, yes. I believe I heard something about it in passing, but it was so long ago. Well, the tradition is in full swing when I was young. The last queen was growing old and infirm, and there were talks that the new queen would be chosen soon. How fortunate for you, yes. You could have been chosen. No, no, I hated it there. It was stuffy and full of pompous knobs. The matrons had our entire lives planned out for us without once stopping to ask what we wanted to do. And they had the nerve to act like I should keep my mouth shut and be grateful. The other girls seemed content with their lot, which meant they didn't understand how I felt. They kept me at arm's length. I hated the pressure to succeed, and I got into a lot of trouble, even back then. I never would have been in line for the throne. The closest person I had to a friend was, oh, it was Ophelia. An older girl named Ophelia. She was in line for the throne. We all knew she would be chosen too because she was perfect. She was beautiful, graceful, and always seemed to say the right thing. Always. She was always talking about the changes she likes to make and the way she liked to improve our kingdom. She does sound lovely, but Abby Normal, forgive me for saying this, no one is perfect. Surely your Ophelia is not exempt. He looks a little surprised when I started laughing. You're right. You're absolutely right. Ophelia was a godforsaken rascal. She lied through her teeth with a smile, and no one was any the wiser. Oh, so Ophelia is like Glinda. That she let me see her naughty, conniving side. I felt special. And she truly did want to make things better. She was as clever and sharp as a knife, and she did care about the people around her. At least, that's what I believed. So we had a whole Alphaba and Glinda situation with our main character, where our Ophelia kind of used us for a little bit, made us feel special, and then we wised up to the situation. Or maybe not Glinda, but like the Wizard of Oz. where he made us like feel special and it's all a hoax. We're being used. More wine? Yes, please. I drank deeply from my refilled glass before continuing. So when Ophelia was chosen and packed her bag, she promised me up and down that she would write every day, every single day. I knew it was forbidden for Olivia's crown to contact the world outside. We both knew that. Every queen was meant to cut all ties with everyone she ever knew before she was chosen. That was the rule. But I believed her, you know? She was so much smarter than me and so crafty. I really thought she'd find a way. I pat the cover of my songwriting journal, which I had placed at my side. I always tried to keep it near, even when it pains me. But all she ever sent me was this book with its empty pages, a hurried low note in the inside cover. I thought she was encouraging me to write my songs in it, and it made me happy for a time, but I never heard from her again. Lucius is watching me with full attention. I can't stop now. So what else could I do? I begged the matrons to grant me a position in the castle. I begged them day and night. All I wanted to see, all I wanted was to see Ophelia again. Until finally they snapped at me and told me to stop asking. They told me they barely managed to secure a position for me as a court entertainer in a faraway land, and that I needed to be grateful. But I wasn't. I argued with them until they took me by the ear and showed me what for. I'll never forget it. How they told me to grow up and stop being childish, but they raked me across the back. Apparently, my destination had no complaints about women with whipping scars. Abby. I ran away soon after that, with just the clothes I wore and, honestly, the very things I have with me now. The loot they gave me, the songwriting journal from Ophelia, and a handful of coins. Lucius spoke slowly, reluctant to interject, but unable to contain his curiosity. Your crime was running away from this wretched orphanage? Oh, no, no, not at all. I gave them the slip. His shoulders sagged with relief. I wager he feels some kinship with the little girl I once was. I went on to become a traveling vagabond for many years. I performed everywhere I could and I saw the world. It was difficult in its own way. People distrusted a new face and meaningful connections were hard to come by. I was even accused of witchcraft sometimes for some reason. Something about corrupting their women and stealing their men with siren songs. Some days were freeing and exciting back then, while other days made me feel like a ghost in search of a final resting place. But no matter what I did or where I went, I couldn't stop thinking about Ophelia. Did you have feelings for this Ophelia of yours? Gods, Lucius, she was practically an adult and I was 6. Which means, yes, I was absolutely obsessed with her. Not that she ever seemed to fancy anyone. I asked her, if she found some boy or girl attractive. She had this way of wrinkling her nose as she turned down every single one. Okay, so we have a asexual queen pop off. This is getting better and better. Like you. Like what? I gawked at him. I notice you wrinkle your nose sometimes when you find something disagreeable where you're not aware. Oh, that's what he meant. Pretty sure we were a very promiscuous bard. I. My face suddenly feels rather hot. Anyway, well, you know how young girls idolize older women? I do. Yeah, we. Wait, you do? Yes. I had younger sisters once. We never had the chance to grow close, but I knew they were eager to idolize. That's news to me. I start to ask him about it. He holds up a hand to stop me. Please, continue on with your tale. I apologize for the interruption. He grimaces suddenly, and my brows knit with concern. Finally, something breaks through. Because I was getting to a point where it's like, wow, we're just opening up a lot of things. I do love the lore. I do love learning more about our vampire and our bard. I love this discussion that they're having, this openness. And I do love, like, we are kind of moving on from like distrust to like acceptance. And at first, I really didn't like it. But then I'm beginning to notice that maybe it's not so bad they are falling in love a little bit, or at least, there's some sort of kindling of a romance here. And it is a little bit world building with them disclosing their information with each other. Um, but I got a little tired of it just being dialogue, of them talking to each other. I kind of wanted to have like a flashback when we play as his younger self falling in love with Gilligan and us being a young child in an orphanage. You know, I would love to like break something up here. Then again, this is a free game. It could be a lot to ask for like a new setting, new drawings, of creating a whole new scene. That's more than just like talking heads talking to each other. I get that. But as I've been playing this game, I want something to like break up here. And I'm glad that this is happening. We need something to like kick things off. Something to shake things up a little bit. He grimaces suddenly, and my brows knit with concern. It's not the first time I've seen that expression. Oh, voice acting. Oh, we stayed up late. He flinches as he takes a deep breath. Lucius slams his fist on the arm of his seat. His wine jostles slightly in his other hand. Okay, so it's kind of like a chain ball situation. Interesting. I tap my fingers against the cover of my journal. I'm feeling a little agitated, but wanting to gratify his wishes. He'll get upset if I speed through the story, but I can try to shorten it for him. Okay, so I'm gonna nitpick here. I don't like the direction where the voice actor is taking with Abby. Like being on the verge of crying type of voice acting. I kind of disagree with that direction. Hold on, the music is drowning out. Okay. Okay, so it's finally coming to full circle why our bard is sent here. Lucious's eyes slowly went wide with realization. Oh, okay. So we're trying to educate our monarchy not to be a monarchy. Lucius is torn perfectly between horrified and scandalously amused, clasping his hand over his jaw with disbelief. While he's in agony from wanting to, like, go into the coffin, his. Okay, I have to get something for my throat. Hold on 1 second. I need a cough drop. Again, like, it's not a hydration issue, it's a fighting off something issue. Everyone is, like, feeling sick in the house. I'm trying to fight off something, so I'll be right back.
1 second.
Okay, again, apologies. The good thing about, like, visual novel games, there's not a lot of need to, like, do a bunch of gaming with these games, which, depending what kind of gamer you are, yeah, that could be a good or a bad thing. Um, the bad thing about, like, visual novel games is that I have to read the text out loud, and there is very little voice acting. His gestures were enthusiastically erratic now. He waits for me to go on and can hardly sit still as he pours himself some more wine. As for me, I set my glass down and clear my throat. Now, I'm sorry that that was very soft, but the background music was, like, interfering their voice acting. But I hope you're able to hear that. When Lucius applauds me, it's as gradual as it is resonant. The very furniture around us seems to shudder in response. Radiant Lucius. Lucius looks at me with plain, unmistakable admiration. I feel my cheeks growing warm again. But I tell myself it's just the wine. Oh no. Our eyes meet with a slow yet yet abrupt understanding of each other. We're so alike in many ways, I can hardly believe it. The storm had stopped at some point. It's quiet enough that I could hear his breath, steady and strong even from this distance. And then he grimaces again. I pivot in time to see the sky now clearing of black clouds, shifting into the first dusky hints of daybreak. Lucius. Yes, I'm going. No need to rush me. You may have the rest of this wine if it pleases you. He smiles at me one last time, strained and fleeting, before he turns into mist and disappears into the shadows. Oop. I hate this that my taskbar keeps coming up to interfere. I'll see you tomorrow night, Lucius. I know I'm speaking into an empty room. I knew it all too well, but I already miss him. Chapter 6, Lullabies of the Lost. Okay, so that was a rather lengthy chapter that I went through for today. I should have not talked so much about other like subject matters. Um, and like really focused on like this game more. So we get to play this game again. For next week. And I'll try my best to like be quick about it, I guess. By all accounts, I should have been done with this game today, but alas, I got very chatty as usual, and I really wanted to show off, this new tarot deck, and yeah, want to talk about it. So I guess I'll go ahead and stop here. Um, when I have more people in the chat, I'll make my announcement. But I want to thank everyone so much for watching. Thank you for being here. And I'm gonna go enjoy some dinner with my family and celebrate my birthday. And thank you all so much for like hanging out here, giving me like well wishes for my birthday. And this coming Monday, I don't know what I'm really gonna do. I may just do some writing. Um, Probably like continuing on with the rest of my book. And if I have enough people here who have returned, I may make my announcement. But if not, definitely Wednesday, because that's usually when everyone shows up. So, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. If you are celebrating Father's Day, I hope it's a wonderful Father's Day. And if you don't have a father to celebrate with, have a wonderful time with your friends and family or your found family. Be someone's daddy for the day, or find a daddy you could lean on. Have a wonderful time and celebrate, you know, this weekend. And it's still Pride Month. You know, you can make it however you wish. So, I'll see you all later. Take care, have fun, and I'll see you Monday. Okay, bye bye.